Extended fam, that's what they call me. Promise that you'll never be lonely.
Kawhi Leonard. He has made quite the name for himself on the court and off the court. But before Kawhi was known as a superstar, he was known as the ultimate defensive weapon. To understand Kawhi's defensive dominance, we have to first take a look at his physical traits. Kawhi Leonard stands at a height of 6'6", a height which many consider to be in the optimal range for an NBA player. His height allows him to be big enough to bang in the paint, but also quick enough to keep up with agile guards. Kawhi also has a massive wingspan, stretching over 7'3". Having this massive stretch gives him a sizable advantage in today's game that demands NBA players to guard multiple positions. See, in this clip, the smaller Lillard is able to get by Kawhi using his speed. But what Kawhi lacks in quickness is compensated by his massive wingspan, allowing him to recover in this play and swat the ball. Look at this one now. Kawhi is guarding Chris Paul, one of the greatest ball handlers in the league. CP at this moment is quickly surveying the court, while the distance between him and Kawhi is still at large. But watch how quickly Kawhi is able to close the gap with his outstretched arms and come away with the steal. Now let's look at the opposite side of the spectrum. Kevin Durant stands at almost 7 feet and has a wingspan of 7'5", giving him one of the highest releases in NBA history. But watch how Kawhi is still able to block the shot with his massive wingspan being aided by his vertical. See, Kawhi's height being so disproportionate to his wingspan works tremendously to his advantage. Look at this graphic here. When looking at human beings of all sizes, it is common to see their height form a 1-to-1 ratio with their wingspan. As we know, Kawhi doesn't fit this case. Now listen to this. When a basketball player grows, the general trend is that their abilities that were once accentuated by a shorter height diminishes with growth. The disproportion of this in Kawhi allows him to possess qualities that are non-existent in 7'3" players and benefit from their massive wingspan. His 7'3" stretch is not the only freakish trait he possesses. His hands, which many refer to as claws, stretch about 11.5 inches from pinky to thumb. To put that into comparison, they are about the same size as Shaq, who is 7 inches taller than him. The size of Kawhi's hands have always been a sports story. They are a major asset on the defensive end and make it easier for him to steal and swat the ball. Watch how he uses his massive hands here to rip the ball out of McLemore's hand. The epitome of Kawhi's great handworks come from this clip. Look how his hands are quick and active, trying to disrupt LeBron's vision and force him into a mistake. Kawhi uses his hands and wingspan to perfection, but in the end of the day, these are just natural physical tools he possesses. What makes Kawhi such a brilliant defender is his anticipation, his IQ, and his mastering of defensive principles. Let's examine this picture. See how Kawhi gets low and wide on his defensive stance while still remaining on his toes, ready to react if the offensive player is to make a move. Now look at this picture. Notice the difference? Kawhi adjusts how low he gets depending on the height of the player he's guarding. This gives him the competitive edge over the offensive player when he goes for the steal, as he's closer to the ground to retrieve the loose ball. Other techniques he uses to steal the ball are engaging in attack while the ball handler has least control of it, i.e. when the ball is traveling upwards or downwards, or when they least expect it. He also baits players to expose themselves to get the easy steal. Watch this masterpiece here. Leonard also doesn't scare when the offensive player decides to attack. He instead slides laterally, cutting off the offensive player's attack and absorbing the contact. Another great thing he does on ball is playing angles. He travels to areas the offensive player is trying to get to and forces them to certain directions that'll result in them taking bad shots or turning the ball over. And when he does get beat, he remains disciplined enough to recover, not jumping for pump fakes or fouling. And that is exactly why he's one of 2 players in the league today to register more career steals than fouls. Kawhi's off-ball defense is quite a sight too. He absorbs information quick and uses it to his advantage to get easy steals. Here he notices the ball handler is trapped and quickly covers his easiest option to come away with the steal. Here he pretends not to see the open man to bait Rose into passing. This clip shows the excellence of Kawhi's off-ball defense. He's clearly beat by Butler here, but cuts off the passing lane to come away with the steal. His defense puts teammates in positions to succeed. Watch how he doesn't travel behind him here, but goes over the top to force the player into drive and giving Diaw an easy contest. Here he's sagging off his man just to